The boardroom fell silent as Alex stepped forward, his daughter's drawing clutched in his weathered hands. The female CEO who'd just threatened his job stared, her power suit suddenly feeling like armor against something she couldn't understand. "Fire me if you want," he said quietly, "but my daughter comes first." What happened next would change everything. Before we dive in, make sure to hit subscribe and leave a comment. Where in the world are you watching from? Alex Chen pressed his forehead against the cool glass of the 32nd floor window, watching the city blur through sheets of October rain. His reflection stared back. Tired eyes, stubble he'd forgotten to shave, the same white Oxford shirt he'd worn yesterday because laundry had been pushed to Sunday's ever-growing list. The Meridian Industries logo gleamed silver against the gray sky across the street, a reminder that even from here, inside the belly of the corporate beast, he was still just another worker ant scrambling to survive. "Daddy?" The small voice cut through his thoughts like a blade through silk. Alex turned to find Lily standing in the doorway of his cubicle, her red backpack sliding off one shoulder, rain droplets still clinging to her dark hair. "Baby girl." He glanced quickly around the open office space. Most of his co-workers had their heads buried in monitors, but Mrs. Patterson from HR was walking their direction, her sensible heels clicking a steady rhythm against the polished concrete floor. "You're not supposed to be here." "I know, but..." "Alex Chen?" The voice belonged to someone he'd never seen before. A woman in her late 30s, maybe early 40s, stood behind Lily. Everything about her was sharp, the cut of her charcoal blazer, the angle of her bob, the way she held herself like she owned whatever room she entered. "Yes. Ma'am, I'm Victoria Sterling. I believe we need to talk." Lily stepped closer to Alex, her small hand finding his. He squeezed gently, a silent reassurance that everything would be okay, even though his stomach had dropped somewhere near his shoes. "Of course. Lily, honey, can you sit right here for just a minute? Color in your book?" Lily nodded, but her eyes never left Victoria Sterling. There was something in that gaze. Not fear, exactly, but the kind of wariness that came from too much experience reading adults' faces, looking for the signs that meant everything was about to change again. Victoria led him to the small conference room, adjacent to the main floor. Through the glass walls, Alex could see Lily settling into his desk chair, her legs swinging as she opened her sketchbook. "Mr. Chen, I'll be direct. I'm the new regional director, and I've been reviewing our policies regarding workplace conduct and professional boundaries." Alex nodded, though his throat felt suddenly dry. "I understand this isn't the first time your daughter has been in the office during work hours. She's only here when absolutely necessary. My babysitter got sick today, and I couldn't find anyone else on short notice. It won't happen again." Victoria leaned back in her chair, her fingers steepled. "Mr. Chen, I appreciate that single parenthood presents challenges. However, this is a corporate environment, not a daycare facility." Through the glass, Alex watched Lily carefully tear a page from her sketchbook. She held it up to the window, and even from here, he could see the splash of purple and yellow crayon, probably another one of her dinosaur drawings. This one looked like it had flowers growing out of its back. "I understand, Miss Sterling, but Lily's never been a distraction. She sits quietly, does her homework. That's not the point." Victoria's voice carried the kind of authority that came from years of making decisions other people had to live with. "We have liability issues, insurance concerns. What if she gets hurt? What if other employees start thinking they can bring their children to work?" Alex felt something cold settle in his chest. "Are you firing me? I'm giving you a warning. The next time your daughter sets foot in this office during business hours, your employment will be terminated immediately." The words hung in the air between them like smoke from a fire neither of them had intended to start. "I need this job. Then I suggest you figure out your childcare situation." Through the glass, Lily had abandoned her coloring and was now standing beside his desk, holding her drawing up to show him. Her smile was wide and proud, the gap between her front teeth making her look even younger than her 7 years. Alex looked back at Victoria Sterling, this woman who held his livelihood in her manicured hands, who probably went home to a house with a working washing machine and a partner who could split the responsibilities of keeping a small human alive and happy. "Miss Sterling, can I ask you something?" She raised an eyebrow. "Do you have children?" "That's not relevant to this conversation." "It is to me." The silence stretched between them like a taut wire. Outside, the rain had intensified, turning the windows into rivers of distorted light. "Mr. Chen, I'm trying to be reasonable here. I could have simply let you go today. Instead, I'm giving you a chance to correct the situation. And I'm grateful for that." Alex stood slowly. "But I need you to understand something. That little girl out there? She's not just my daughter. She's my whole world. Her mother died when she was 3, and for the last 4 years, it's been just us." Victoria's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind her eyes. "I work 60-hour weeks. I've never missed a deadline, never called in sick, never caused drama or problems. I do my job well because I have to. Because she depends on me." "Mr. Chen, I'm not finished." The words came out harder than he'd intended, but he didn't apologize. "Sometimes the babysitter gets sick. Sometimes school gets canceled. Sometimes the world doesn't cooperate with corporate policy. When that happens, I don't have a choice. I bring her here because the alternative is leaving her alone, and I won't do that." Lily was pressing her drawing against the glass now, trying to show it to them. The crayon dinosaur smiled beneath its crown of purple flowers, and Alex felt something break open in his chest. "So, if you need to fire me for putting my daughter first, then fire me. But I won't apologize for being her father." Victoria Sterling sat perfectly still, her hands folded on the conference table. When she finally spoke, her voice was quieter than before. "How long have you worked here, Mr. Chen?" 4 years. Since right after Sarah died." "And your performance reviews?" "Consistently exceeds expectations." She was quiet again, her eyes moving between Alex and the little girl on the other side of the glass. Lily had given up trying to show them her drawing, and was now carefully arranging the items on Alex's desk: his stapler, his coffee mug, his photo of Sarah holding a newborn Lily in the hospital. "I'll be honest with you, Mr. Chen. When I took this position, I was told there was an employee who regularly violated workplace policies by bringing his child to the office. I was told it was becoming a pattern that other employees were beginning to notice and comment on." Alex felt his jaw tighten. "Who told you that?" "It doesn't matter. What matters is that I came here today prepared to terminate your employment." The world seemed to tilt slightly. Alex gripped the edge of the table. "But?" The word came out as barely more than a whisper. Victoria Sterling stood and walked to the window. From here, they could see Lily more clearly. She had found Alex's stress ball, a small rubber hamburger he'd gotten as a joke at some long-forgotten office party, and was squeezing it rhythmically while she hummed something under her breath. "But I've been watching her for the last 10 minutes. And she's better behaved than half the adults in this building." Alex didn't dare to breathe. "And I've been watching you." Victoria turned to face him. "The way you look at her. The way she looks at you. My assistant did some research on you after I scheduled this meeting. Your daughter's mother died in a car accident 4 years ago. You've been raising her alone since then. No family support system, no significant other, just you and her. That's right. You've never remarried. Haven't had time, haven't wanted to." Victoria nodded slowly. "Mr. Chen, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." "Okay. How often does this really happen? Your daughter being here during work hours?" Alex considered lying, making it sound better than it was. But something in Victoria Sterling's eyes stopped him. "Maybe once a month. Sometimes twice, if we're unlucky. Usually just for an hour or two, while I arrange something else." "And she always behaves like this? Quietly? No disruption?" "Always. She knows the rules. Homework first, Then quiet activities only. No running, no loud voices. She packs her own snack and brings activities to keep herself busy. Victoria was quiet for a long moment, watching as Lily carefully returned the stress ball to its exact original position on the desk. Mr. Chen, I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to keep it confidential. Of course. I have a 12-year-old daughter, Emma. I haven't seen her in 3 weeks because I've been traveling for this job, setting up new policies and procedures at our regional offices. When I call her at night, she's already asleep. When I wake up, she's already left for school. Alex felt something shift in the air between them. My ex-husband has custody during the week. I get her every other weekend, if I'm not traveling for work. Which, lately, I almost always am. I'm sorry. Don't be. I made my choices. Victoria's voice carried a weight that hadn't been there before. But, watching you with your daughter, seeing the way she trusts you completely, the way she's comfortable in your world, I realize I don't even know what that looks like anymore. Through the glass, Lily had found a piece of paper and was writing something in careful, block letters. She held it up to the window, and Alex could make out the words, "I love you, Daddy." His throat closed up completely. Mr. Chen, I'm going to make you a deal. Alex looked back at Victoria, afraid to hope. Your daughter can come to the office when absolutely necessary, under the following conditions. She stays in your immediate work area. She brings quiet activities only. And if anyone complains about disruption or unprofessional behavior, we revisit this conversation immediately. You're serious? I'm serious. But I need something from you in return. Anything. I need you to teach me. Teach you what? Victoria Sterling looked back at Lily, who was now carefully folding her "I love you, Daddy" sign into a small square. How to be the kind of parent my daughter draws pictures for. The rain continued to streak down the windows, but something in the light had changed. Alex felt like he could breathe again for the first time in hours. Deal. Victoria extended her hand, and Alex shook it, surprised by the firmness of her grip. One more thing, she said, as they prepared to leave the conference room. Yes? I'd like to see that drawing she was trying to show us. Alex smiled. Really smiled for the first time that day. She'd like that. Fair warning though, it's probably a dinosaur with flowers. That's her specialty lately. Dinosaurs with flowers? She says they're friendlier that way. Victoria Sterling almost smiled. Almost. I think I'd like to hear more about that theory. They walked out of the conference room together, and Lily looked up from the small paper airplane she was carefully constructing from office scrap paper. Daddy, are you in trouble? No, baby girl. I'm not in trouble. Good. She held up her airplane. I made this for you. It's for flying away from bad days. Alex knelt beside her chair and accepted the airplane, his hands gentle around her small masterpiece. Thank you, Lily. It's perfect. Lily, Victoria said, stepping closer. I'm Miss Sterling. I work here too. I heard you have a drawing you wanted to show us? Lily's eyes lit up. She grabbed her sketchbook and flipped to the page with the flower-crowned dinosaur. This is Rosie, she announced proudly. She's a triceratops, but she grows flowers instead of being scary. See? The purple ones are violets because they're humble, and the yellow ones are sunflowers because they're happy. Victoria crouched down to Lily's level, studying the drawing with genuine attention. Rosie is beautiful. Why did you decide to give her flowers? Because everyone thinks dinosaurs are mean and scary, but maybe they were just misunderstood. Maybe they needed something pretty to make people see them differently. Victoria was quiet for a long moment, still looking at the drawing. That's very wise, Lily. Thank you. Do you want me to draw you one? Yes. I'd like that very much. Lily beamed and immediately began reaching for her crayons. What's your favorite color, miss? Sterling? Victoria looked surprised by the question, as if no one had asked her that in years. Blue, I think. Deep blue. Like the ocean. Perfect. Ocean blue flowers for your dinosaur. What kind should it be? I don't know much about dinosaurs. That's okay. I'll pick a good one for you. As Lily bent over her sketchbook, her tongue poking out slightly in concentration, Alex caught Victoria's eye. She was watching his daughter with something like wonder, as if she was seeing magic happen in real time. Maybe she was. The office around them continued its daily rhythm, phones ringing, keyboards clicking. The steady hum of productivity and deadlines. But in their small corner, something different was happening. Something that couldn't be measured in quarterly reports or performance metrics. Something that looked like hope, wearing a 7-year-old smile and a CEO's slowly melting facade. Alex settled into his desk chair and watched his daughter work, her small hands moving confidently across the paper, creating something beautiful for a stranger who had just chosen kindness over policy. For the first time in months, maybe years, the future felt like something other than a series of obstacles to overcome. It felt like a gift his daughter was unwrapping, one crayon stroke at a time. 2 weeks later, Alex arrived at work to find a small potted plant on his desk. African violets, deep purple blooms nestled among velvet leaves. The card was cream-colored, expensive paper, with Victoria Sterling's name embossed at the top. Thank you for the drawing. Emma loved it. V.S. Lily had finished Victoria's dinosaur. That first day, a gentle brontosaurus with ocean blue morning glories cascading down its long neck like a floral waterfall. Victoria had stared at it for a full minute before carefully folding it and slipping it into her briefcase. She's going to keep it forever, Lily had whispered to Alex, as if she could see something the adults couldn't quite grasp yet. Now, touching the soft petals of the violets, Alex wondered if his daughter had been right. The morning passed quietly, until Mrs. Patterson appeared beside his cubicle, her usual clipboard tucked under one arm. Alex? Miss Sterling would like to see you in her office. And she asked if Lily could come too, if she's here today. Alex looked up from his spreadsheet. Lily's at school. Oh, Mrs. Patterson seemed almost disappointed. Well, just you then. Victoria Sterling's office was on the 41st floor, a corner space with windows that framed the city like a postcard. Alex had never been this high in the building before. Everything felt different up here, the air thinner, the silence more complete. Mr. Chen, please, sit. Victoria was standing at the window, her reflection ghost-like against the morning sky. She wore navy today, softer than her usual charcoal armor. Thank you for the plant. Lily will love it. How did you know those were her favorite flowers? Alex smiled. Lucky guess. She drew them in your dinosaur's garden. Victoria turned from the window. I wanted to talk to you about something. A proposal, actually. Okay. I've been thinking about our conversation 2 weeks ago. About teaching me to be the kind of parent children draw pictures for. She paused, seeming to choose her words carefully. I'd like to make that arrangement more formal. Formal? How? I want to hire you as a consultant. Alex blinked. I'm sorry, what? I'm launching a new initiative across all our regional offices. Work-life integration support. Policies and practices that help employees balance their professional responsibilities with their roles as parents, caregivers, family members. That sounds ambitious. It is. And I need someone who understands both sides, the corporate requirements, and the real-world challenges of single parenthood. Victoria moved to her desk, pulling out a folder thick with papers. I've done my research, Alex. Do you know how many of our employees are single parents? 37%. Do you know how many of them have had to choose between their children's needs and their job security in the last year alone? Alex shook his head. 62%. The number hung heavy between them. We're losing good people because we're asking them to pretend their children don't exist for 8 hours a day. It's not sustainable, and it's not humane. And you want me to help you change that? I want you to help me understand what actually works, not policies written by people who've never had to choose between a parent-teacher conference and a quarterly review. Real solutions, from someone who's lived it. Alex felt something expanding in his chest, dangerous and bright. Hope had a way of sneaking up on him lately. What would that look like? Flexible scheduling frameworks, emergency childcare protocols, family-friendly workspace designs, policy recommendations that acknowledge the reality of modern parenthood without compromising professional standards. She slid the folder across her desk. The position would be part-time initially, working around your current responsibilities. Eventually, if the program proves successful, it could become full-time with a significant salary increase. Alex opened the folder, his eyes scanning numbers that seemed too good to be real. Victoria, this is life-changing? Yeah. Good, that's the point. She returned to the window. I had lunch with Emma yesterday. First time in a month. Do you know what she told me? What? She said. She didn't remember what my laugh sounded like. Victoria's voice was steady, but Alex caught the slight tremor beneath the words. She's 12 years old, and she can't remember her mother's laugh. The silence stretched between them, filled with the weight of things that couldn't be undone. I can't get those years back, Victoria continued. But maybe I can help other parents avoid making the same mistakes I made. Maybe I can learn something in the process. Alex closed the folder, his decision already made before he'd consciously realized it. When do I start? Tomorrow. If you're ready. We'll begin with employee interviews, understanding the real challenges people face. Then, we'll work on policy recommendations. And Lily? Victoria smiled, and for the first time since he'd met her, it reached her eyes. Lily will be our secret weapon. Children have a way of cutting through corporate nonsense to get to the heart of what actually matters. That afternoon, Alex sat in his car outside Lily's school, watching the stream of children pour through the double doors, like colorful water released from a dam. When Lily spotted him, her whole face lit up, and she ran toward the car with her backpack bouncing against her shoulders. Daddy, guess what happened in art class today? Tell me everything, he said, helping her with her seatbelt. Mrs. Rodriguez said my flower dinosaur pictures are so good that she wants to put them in the art show next month. All of them. That's incredible, baby girl. And Tommy Martinez asked if I could draw one for his little sister because she's scared of dinosaurs, but she loves flowers. So, maybe a flower dinosaur wouldn't be scary. Alex felt that familiar surge of pride that came with being Lily's father. She saw the world with such clarity, such kindness. Where others saw problems, she saw possibilities. Lily, how would you like to come to work with me tomorrow? Not because of an emergency this time, but because someone wants to meet you. Miss Sterling? How did you know? She has sad eyes, Lily said matter-of-factly. Like she lost something important and can't remember where she put it. I thought maybe if I drew her enough dinosaurs, she might remember. Alex pulled into their driveway, a narrow strip of cracked concrete beside their rental duplex. The lawn needed mowing, and the front porch light had been burned out for 3 weeks. But it was theirs. Home. Do you think that's how healing works? He asked, genuinely curious. Drawing enough beautiful things until you remember what you lost? Lily considered this seriously as they walked to the front door. Maybe not remember, she said finally. Maybe just make something new that's just as good. That night, after dinner and homework, and the nightly ritual of bedtime stories, Alex sat at his kitchen table with Victoria's folder spread before him. The numbers were real. The opportunity was real. The chance to build something meaningful, something that could help other parents navigate the impossible balance he'd been struggling with for 4 years, it was all real. But more than that, he was thinking about Victoria Sterling standing at her office window, admitting that her 12-year-old daughter couldn't remember her laugh. He was thinking about Lily, who saw sadness in a stranger's eyes and wanted to heal it with flower dinosaurs. He was thinking about all the parents sitting in cars outside daycare centers, calculating whether they could afford to be 5 minutes late to pick up their children without losing their jobs. Alex opened his laptop and began to type. Initial interview questions. Understanding the real challenges of working parents. Describe the last time you had to choose between your child's needs and your job requirements. How did that feel? What would your ideal work environment look like if your whole life, including your role as a parent, was valued and supported? Tell me about a time when your workplace showed flexibility around your family responsibilities. How did that impact your loyalty and productivity? The questions flowed easily, born from his own experience, from conversations with other single parents at school pickup, from the quiet desperation he'd seen in so many eyes over the years. He was still typing when his phone buzzed with a text message. Unknown number. This is Victoria. I hope you don't mind, I got your number from HR. Emma asked if she could meet Lily sometime. She's fascinated by the idea of someone her age who draws flowers on dinosaurs to make them friendlier. Would that be possible? Alex smiled as he typed back. Lily would love that. She's been asking about your daughter since the day they met through her drawing. Victoria, perhaps we could arrange a play date this weekend? Emma hasn't been excited about meeting someone new in a long time. Alex, Saturday afternoon? We could meet at the park on 5th Street. Very casual. Victoria, perfect. Thank you, Alex. For everything. Alex set his phone aside and returned to his laptop, but his mind was elsewhere. He was thinking about Lily's theory that maybe healing didn't mean remembering what you lost, but creating something new that was just as good, maybe even better. Outside his kitchen window, the neighborhood was settling into evening quiet. Porch lights flickered on, dinner dishes clinked in distant kitchens, and somewhere a dog barked once before falling silent. It was the sound of ordinary life, ordinary families navigating ordinary challenges. But tomorrow, he would begin working towards something extraordinary. A workplace where being a parent wasn't a liability to hide, but a strength to celebrate. Where children's drawings could hang on office walls without apology. Where the phrase, "I have to leave for my daughter's school play," wasn't followed by guilt and fear, but by understanding nods and covered responsibilities. Where people like Victoria Sterling could remember what their laughter sounded like because they had reasons to use it every day. Alex saved his document and closed the laptop. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new possibilities, new chances to build something beautiful from the complicated intersection of career and family. Tonight, he would check on his sleeping daughter one more time, maybe adjust her covers or move a stuffed animal closer to her pillow. Tonight, he would simply be grateful for the long, winding path that had led them here to African violets on his desk, and hope in a folder full of life-changing numbers. To flower dinosaurs and second chances. To the radical idea that maybe, just maybe, the business world was ready to make room for the whole human experience, including the part that came home with scraped knees and math homework, and an endless supply of love disguised as crayon drawings. Saturday arrived, wrapped in the kind of autumn light that made everything look like a painting. Alex stood at the edge of Riverside Park, watching Lily arrange a small collection of items on the picnic table: her sketchbook, a box of crayons, and 3 carefully folded pieces of paper. "What are those?" he asked. "Welcome gifts," Lily said seriously. "One for Emma, one for Miss Sterling, and one for me, so we all have matching ones." Alex peered at the folded papers. Each one had been decorated with intricate crayon borders, flowers, and vines, intertwined with tiny dinosaurs. "What's inside?" "Friendship certificates. I made them last night. They say we promise to be kind to each other, even when we're different." Before Alex could respond, he spotted Victoria walking across the grass with a girl who had to be Emma. 12 years old, all legs and caution, with her mother's sharp intelligence evident in the way she took in her surroundings. "Remember," Lily whispered, "she might be nervous. Sometimes older kids think little kids are annoying, and sometimes little kids surprise them." Lily grinned. "Exactly." Victoria approached with the careful smile of a parent, hoping desperately that this would go well. Emma hung back slightly, her hands buried in the pockets of her jacket. Emma, Victoria said gently. This is Mr. Chen and his daughter Lily. Emma nodded politely, but said nothing. Lily stepped forward without hesitation, holding out one of her decorated papers. Hi, Emma. I made you a friendship certificate. It's not weird or anything, just, I thought you might like it. Emma looked at the paper, then at Lily, then back at the paper. Slowly, she reached out and accepted it. Thank you, she said quietly. That's really nice. Want to see what's inside? Emma unfolded the paper carefully. Alex couldn't see the exact words, but he watched Emma's expression shift from polite wariness to genuine surprise. You drew this for me? Uh-huh. It's a Parasaurolophus with morning glories. Because your mom said blue was her favorite color, so I thought maybe you'd like blue flowers too. They're good for saying hello. Emma studied the drawing with the focus of someone much older than 12. The detail is incredible. How long did this take you? Not long. I love drawing dinosaurs. Want to see my others? And just like that, the barrier dissolved. Emma settled beside Lily at the picnic table, and soon, they were bent over the sketchbook together, Emma asking detailed questions about different species, while Lily explained her flower choices with the authority of a botanist. Alex found himself standing beside Victoria, both of them watching their daughters with the particular mixture of relief and amazement that came with successful social interactions. She hasn't been this animated with another kid in months, Victoria said. Quietly. Lily has a gift for making people feel seen. Where does that come from? Alex considered the question. Loss, maybe. She learned early that people can disappear, so she pays attention to them while they're here. They watched as Lily showed Emma how to draw flower petals that looked three-dimensional. Emma's first attempt was careful, precise, every line deliberate. She draws like you negotiate contracts, Alex observed. Victoria almost smiled. Perfectionist tendencies. She gets that from me. Is that a bad thing? It can be. When you're so focused on getting everything right, you sometimes forget to enjoy the process. Lily was now drawing something new while Emma watched. Her crayon moved quickly, confidently, creating curves and shapes that seemed to flow directly from her imagination to the paper. Look, Lily said, holding up her creation. It's us. You're the tall dinosaur with the beautiful blue flowers, and I'm the little one with purple flowers, and we're friends. Emma stared at the drawing. Two dinosaurs, clearly different species but standing close together, both crowned with elaborate floral arrangements. The larger dinosaur had its long neck curved protectively over the smaller one, while tiny hearts floated between them. Can I keep this? Emma asked. Of course. That's why I made it. I don't have anything to give you back. That's okay. Friendship isn't about trading things. It's about sharing things. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then, do you want to see something? She pulled out her phone and scrolled through photos until she found what she was looking for. I take pictures of interesting architectural details. Buildings, bridges, stuff like that. Most people think it's boring. Lily leaned in, studying the screen with genuine interest. That's not boring. Look at all those patterns. It's like the building is wearing jewelry. Exactly. Emma's face lit up. Nobody ever gets that before. Could you teach me to see buildings the way you see them? And maybe I could teach you to draw flowers? Really? You'd want to learn about architecture? Are you kidding? I love learning about how people make beautiful things. Alex felt something tight in his chest loosen. This was what he'd wanted for Lily, connections with people who appreciated her particular way of seeing the world. And Emma was getting something too. Someone who didn't dismiss her interests as weird or boring. Victoria, he said quietly, I think we should probably start meeting regularly. The girls, I mean. I was hoping you'd say that. They arranged themselves on a nearby bench while the girls continued their artistic collaboration. Emma had started a careful architectural sketch, while Lily added tiny flowers to the building's decorative elements. How are the interviews going? Victoria asked. Alex had spent the week talking to parents throughout the company, single mothers juggling school schedules and conference calls, fathers who'd missed school plays for client meetings, couples trying to navigate childcare emergencies without jeopardizing their careers. Eye-opening, he said. The stories are heartbreaking, but also inspiring. People are incredibly resourceful when they have to be. What patterns are you seeing? Mostly fear. Fear of being seen as unreliable, unprofessional, not committed to the job. People are hiding huge parts of their lives because they're afraid of being judged. And solutions? Some are simpler than you'd think. Flexible start times, work-from-home options for sick kids, backup childcare partnerships with local centers. Others are more complex cultural shifts, manager training, redefining what commitment looks like. Victoria nodded. I've been thinking about implementation, rolling it out as a pilot program in our division first, measuring results, then expanding if successful. That makes sense. Change this big needs to prove itself. They fell into comfortable silence, watching their daughters. Emma was explaining something about flying buttresses while Lily nodded seriously, occasionally asking questions that seemed to surprise Emma with their insight. Alex, can I ask you something personal? Sure. How do you do it? Single parenting, I mean. How do you make it look so natural? Alex considered the question. I don't know if it's natural. I think it's just necessity becomes love, you know? You do what you have to do, and somewhere along the way, you realize you wouldn't have it any other way. Even on the hard days? Especially on the hard days. That's when you find out what you're actually made of. Victoria was quiet for a moment. I feel like I missed so much of Emma's childhood, because I was trying to provide for her future. And now her future is here, and I barely know who she is. You're here now. Is that enough? Alex looked at Emma, who was now carefully adding Lily's flower suggestions to her architectural sketch, her face more relaxed than it had been when they arrived. Ask her, he said simply. Victoria followed his gaze. Emma? Yeah, Mom? Are you having fun? Actually, yes. Yes. Lily knows so much about flowers, and she thinks my building pictures are cool. We're going to collaborate on a series buildings with gardens integrated into their design. That sounds amazing. It is. Did you know some buildings are actually designed to support plant life as part of their structure? It's called biophilic architecture. And Emma stopped herself. Sorry, I'm getting carried away. Don't apologize, Victoria said quickly. I love hearing you get excited about things. Emma smiled. Really smiled for the first time since they'd arrived. Thanks, Mom. It was a small moment, barely noticeable to anyone else. But Alex saw Victoria's shoulders relax slightly, saw something ease in her expression. Hey, Emma, Lily said suddenly. Want to go look at the ducks? I brought some crackers. Are you allowed to feed them? Probably not, but we can look and maybe draw them. They gathered their supplies and headed toward the pond, chattering about the architectural merits of duck habitats and the aerodynamics of waterfowl. Alex and Victoria followed at a distance, close enough to supervise, but far enough to give the girls space to build their friendship. Thank you, Victoria said as they walked. For what? For seeing what Emma needed before I did. For understanding that sometimes the best business solutions come from the most human places. I should be thanking you. This job, this opportunity, it's more than I ever imagined possible. We make a good team. They did. Different perspectives, different experiences, but somehow complementary. Victoria's strategic thinking balanced Alex's ground-level understanding. Her corporate authority gave weight to his human insights. At the pond, the girls had found a bench and were sketching the ducks with intense concentration. Emma's drawings were architecturally precise, every feather carefully observed and recorded. Lily's were more impressionistic, capturing movement and personality rather than exact detail. Look, Lily said, showing Emma her sketch. This one's the boss duck. See how he keeps swimming in front of all the others? That's actually probably a drake, a male. They do tend to be more territorial during mating season. Territorial? Protective of their space. Like how your dad gets when someone sits in his parking spot at work. Lily giggled. Daddy doesn't get territorial. He just sighs and finds another spot. That's because your dad is wise, Victoria said, joining the conversation. He picks his battles. What does that mean? It means some things are worth fighting for, and some things aren't. The trick is knowing the difference. Emma looked up from her sketch. Is that why you took this new job, Mom? Because it was worth fighting for? Victoria sat down beside her daughter, surprised by the question. What do you mean? You used to travel all the time for work. You said it was important for your career. But then you took this job where you travel less, even though it was probably a big change. I wondered if maybe you decided I was worth fighting for. The words hung in the air like morning mist, delicate, beautiful, and utterly transformative. Victoria's voice was soft when she answered. Emma, you were always worth fighting for. I forgot how to do the fighting. And now you remember? Now I'm learning. Every day. Emma nodded and returned to her sketch, but something had shifted between them. A door that had been closed for a long time was finally beginning to open. Lily, with her 7-year-old wisdom, seemed to sense the importance of the moment. She moved quietly to Alex's side and slipped her hand into his. Daddy, she whispered, I think our flower dinosaur theory is working. Alex squeezed her hand gently. I think you might be right, baby girl. The afternoon stretched golden around them, filled with the soft sounds of pencils on paper, gentle conversation, and the quiet splash of ducks navigating their small pond. It was the kind of moment that felt both ordinary and miraculous to families, newly configured, learning to see each other clearly for the first time, learning that sometimes the most profound changes began with the smallest gestures of recognition, that sometimes healing looked like a 12-year-old girl teaching a 7-year-old about architectural details, while the 7-year-old taught her that buildings could wear flower jewelry, that sometimes love looked like a single father choosing his battles wisely, and a CEO remembering what her own laughter sounded like. As the sun began its descent toward the horizon, painting everything in shades of amber and gold, Alex realized this was what he'd been working toward all along, not just professional success or financial security, but moments like this. Moments when the complicated calculus of work and family suddenly simplified into something elegant and true. Something worth drawing. Something worth keeping. Something that bloomed like morning glories on a gentle dinosaur's neck, beautiful and unexpected and absolutely perfect. 3 months later, Alex stood before the executive board in the glass-walled conference room on the 43rd floor, a presentation remote steady in his hand, despite the magnitude of the moment. Behind him, projected on the wall-mounted screen, was a simple slide. Work-Life Integration Initiative. Pilot program results. But his eyes weren't on the executives in their expensive suits. They were on the back corner of the room, where Victoria sat with Emma and Lily, both girls quietly working on homework, at a small table that hadn't been there an hour ago. The sight should have been jarring children in a boardroom, during a crucial presentation. 6 months ago, it would have been impossible. Today, it was simply Tuesday. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex began, his voice carrying the quiet confidence of someone who had found his purpose. I'm here to talk about what happens when we stop asking our employees to choose between being good parents and good workers, and start helping them be both. Robert Henley, the regional vice president, leaned back in his leather chair. Mr. Chen, before we begin, I have to ask about the unusual seating arrangement. Alex followed his gaze to where Lily was carefully coloring in the margins of her math worksheet, while Emma worked on what looked like a science project involving geometric shapes. Emma has prizes. A presentation for her advanced placement physics class tomorrow, Alex explained calmly. Lily has a math test on Friday. Both girls needed quiet study time, and both their parents needed to be here for this meeting. So we found a solution that works for everyone. But surely childcare could have been arranged. Could have been, Victoria interjected, rising from her seat with the kind of authority that ended conversations. But why should it have been? These children are part of why this program exists. They're not distractions to be managed, they're the whole point. She moved to stand beside Alex, and he felt the familiar sense of partnership that had developed between them over the past months. Different strengths, shared vision. The pilot program results speak for themselves, Victoria continued. Employee retention up 32%, sick days down 28%, productivity measures at all-time highs. But more importantly, we've fundamentally shifted how this company thinks about the relationship between work and life. Alex clicked to the next slide, a photograph of the renovated fourth-floor break room. What had once been a sterile space with vending machines and harsh fluorescent lighting was now warm and welcoming. With comfortable seating areas, a small play corner with books and quiet toys, and large windows overlooking the city park. The family-friendly workspace redesign cost us $12,000, Alex said. It saved us over $200,000 in recruitment and training costs by dramatically reducing turnover among parents. Another click. A schedule grid showing flexible start times, compressed work weeks, and remote work options. The flexible scheduling framework required significant coordination, but minimal additional resources. Parents can now attend school events without using vacation days, work from home when children are sick, and adjust their hours around family needs while still meeting all professional obligations. Maria Santos, the HR director, raised her hand. What about the concern that other employees would feel these policies were unfair? That parents were getting preferential treatment? Alex smiled. This was the question he'd been waiting for. Interesting thing happened there, he said. When we surveyed all employees, parents and non-parents about the changes, satisfaction rates actually went up across the board. Turns out, when you create a workplace that acknowledges people have full lives outside the office, everyone benefits. He clicked to a testimonial slide. Sarah Mitchell, marketing coordinator, no children. Knowing that my company would support me if I needed to care for an aging parent or deal with a family emergency makes me feel more secure and valued. I work harder because I know they see me as a whole person. Another testimonial. David Park, accounting manager, father of 2. I used to leave work every day feeling guilty either because I was leaving my kids or because I was leaving my job. Now I can be fully present in both places because I'm not constantly afraid of losing either one. Emma looked up from her science project and caught Alex's eye. She gave him a small thumbs up before returning to her geometric calculations. In the 3 months since that first park meeting, she and Lily had become inseparable, their friendship bridging the age gap through shared curiosity and mutual respect. More importantly, the relationship had given both girls something they'd been missing. Emma had someone who thought her intellectual interests were fascinating, while Lily had an older friend who treated her ideas seriously. The emergency childcare partnership with Sunshine Academy has been utilized 47 times in 3 months, Alex continued. Average time away from work, 36 minutes to arrange alternative care. Previous average when employees had to handle childcare emergencies alone, 4 hours. Robert Henley leaned forward. And the cost analysis? Victoria stepped back to the podium. Initial investment, $68,000 for policy development, space renovation, and childcare partnerships. First-year savings, $420,000 in reduced turnover, decreased absenteeism, and increased productivity. ROI of over 600%. But Alex knew the real success couldn't be measured in spreadsheets and percentages. It lived in the details that didn't make it into presentations, the way Jennifer from accounting no longer looked panicked when her babysitter called in sick, the pride in Tom's voice when he talked about coaching his daughter's soccer team without having to choose between games and client meetings, the slowly increasing collection of children's artwork, taped to cubicle walls throughout the office. Questions? Victoria asked. Margaret Ellis, the company president, had been silent throughout the presentation. Now she leaned forward, her fingers steepled. "This is impressive work," she said. "But I have to ask, are we setting a precedent here that might be difficult to maintain as we scale? Can these policies work across all our divisions, all our employee demographics?" Alex had been preparing for this question for weeks. "Miss Ellis, respectfully, I think we're asking the wrong question. The question isn't whether we can afford to implement these policies company-wide. The question is whether we can afford not to." He clicked to his final slide. A map showing their regional office compared to competitors, with retention and productivity metrics displayed as colored indicators. "Our pilot program has already gotten attention in the industry. 3 of our top competitors have started reaching out to our employees with job offers that explicitly mention work-life balance. We're not just retaining talent, we're attracting it from other companies. More importantly," Victoria added, "we're building a workforce of people who choose to be here, not just people who feel trapped here. That kind of loyalty and engagement is worth more than any policy adjustment could cost." Margaret Ellis nodded slowly. "Implementation timeline for company-wide rollout?" 6 months for full deployment," Alex said. "We'd start with divisions that have expressed the most interest and work outward, using lessons learned from each implementation to refine the program." "And you'd oversee this expansion personally?" Alex glanced at Victoria, then back at Margaret Ellis. "Miss Sterling and I have developed this program as a team. We'd continue that partnership through implementation and beyond." "Miss Sterling, this would represent a significant shift from your previous role focus. Are you committed to this direction?" Victoria was quiet for a moment, her eyes moving to where Emma sat, working diligently on her physics project. Occasionally whispering questions to Lily, who answered with the seriousness of someone honored to be consulted on advanced scientific matters. "6 months ago, my daughter couldn't remember what my laugh sounded like," Victoria said finally. "Last week, she told me I laugh like wind chimes in a gentle breeze." "Yes, Miss Ellis, I'm committed to this direction." The room fell silent except for the soft scratch of pencils on paper and the distant hum of city traffic 43 floors below. Margaret Ellis looked around the table at her fellow executives, reading expressions, calculating risks and benefits in the way that had made her successful in a world that rarely rewarded such calculations when they involved human rather than financial considerations. Motion to approve company-wide. Implementation of the Work-Life Integration Initiative, she said finally. All in favor? Every hand in the room went up. Alex felt something shift in his chest, a combination of relief and excitement, and the particular satisfaction that came with work that mattered, being recognized and valued. "Mr. Chen, Miss Sterling," Margaret Ellis said, "congratulations, you've just changed how this company thinks about success." As the executives filed out of the room, shaking hands and making notes about implementation timelines, Alex found himself standing beside the table where Lily and Emma were packing up their homework. "How'd it go, Dad?" Emma asked, looking up from her physics calculations. "I think it went pretty well. Does this mean more kids will get to come to work with their parents sometimes?" Lily wanted to know. "Sometimes, when they need to. And it means parents won't have to be scared about choosing between work and family." Lily nodded seriously. "That's good. Fear makes people make bad choices." Victoria joined them, her professional composure giving way to something softer. "How's the physics project coming along, Em?" "Great. Lily's been helping me think about the aesthetic applications of geometric principles. Did you know flowers follow mathematical patterns called Fibonacci sequences?" "I did not know that." "It's true," Lily chimed in. "Emma showed me how sunflowers arrange their seeds in spirals, and it's the same pattern that shows up in pine cones and seashells and lots of other places. Math is everywhere." Alex watched Victoria's face transform as she listened to her daughter's excitement, saw the wonder in her eyes as she recognized this passionate, curious person she'd somehow missed seeing before. "Would you like to show me more about these patterns sometime?" Victoria asked. "Really? You'd want to learn about it?" "I'd love to," Emma beamed, and Alex caught Victoria's eye over her daughter's head. The look that passed between them was brief but profound gratitude, recognition, the shared understanding of parents who had found their way back to what mattered most. "Miss Sterling?" Lily tugged on Victoria's sleeve. "I made something for you." She pulled a folded piece of paper from her backpack, this one decorated with the careful precision that had become her signature style. Victoria opened it to reveal a drawing of two women, one tall and professional-looking, one small, with pigtails standing beside a dinosaur covered in morning glories and surrounded by geometric patterns. "It's us," Lily explained. "You and me and Emma and my dad. Except I drew Emma as a dinosaur because she knows so much about science, and I gave her math flower patterns, because that's what makes her happy." Victoria stared at the drawing for a long moment, her professional composure finally cracking completely. "Lily," she said quietly, "this is the most beautiful thing anyone has ever drawn for me." "Really? Really? Can I keep it in my office?" "Of course. That's what friends do. They share beautiful things." As they gathered their belongings and prepared to leave the conference room, Alex realized that this moment, this precise configuration of people and possibilities, was what he'd been working toward all along, even when he didn't know it. Not just professional success, though that felt good. Not just financial security, though that mattered too. This, the knowledge that work could honor the fullness of human experience. That success could be measured not just in profits and productivity, but in laughter remembered, and friendships formed, and the simple radical act of allowing people to bring their whole selves to the places where they spent their days. Outside the conference room windows, the city spread before them like a promise, full of other companies and other families, and other possibilities for change that rippled outward in ways they might never fully know or measure. But here, in this room, with these people, change had already begun. It looked like a 7-year-old's drawing of geometric flowers and friendly dinosaurs. It sounded like a 12-year-old explaining mathematical beauty to anyone willing to listen. It felt like coming home, to a place that had always been there, waiting for them to be brave enough to recognize it. 1 year later, Alex stood in the doorway of his new office. A real office with walls and a door and a nameplate that read Alex Chen, Director of Family Integration Programs. Watching Lily and Emma work at the small conference table he'd had installed, specifically for moments like this. The girls had grown closer than he'd ever imagined possible. Emma, now 13 and navigating the particular challenges of middle school with mathematical precision, had become Lily's fierce protector and intellectual mentor. Lily, 8 now and even more confident in her unique way of seeing the world, had taught Emma that wisdom sometimes came disguised as whimsy, that the most profound truths could be found in crayon drawings and flower metaphors. Today, they were working on their latest collaboration, a children's book about dinosaurs who used architecture and gardening to solve problems. Emma provided the scientific accuracy and geometric precision, while Lily contributed the narrative heart and artistic vision. They'd already had interest from 3 publishers. "Dad," Lily called without looking up from her illustration. "How do you spell sustainable? Sustainable. What are you writing about?" "The Stegosaurus who builds green roofs for her community." Emma calculated how much rainwater collection we could show in the diagrams. "It's actually quite fascinating," Emma added, adjusting her glasses as she reviewed her calculations. "If you integrate plant systems into architectural design from the beginning, rather than retrofitting, you can achieve a 43% increase in environmental efficiency while reducing structural load by 18%. Alex smiled. Some things never changed. Emma still approached everything with the methodical thoroughness that would serve her well in the engineering program she was already being courted for, despite being years away from college. But now she did it with the confidence of someone who'd learned that intelligence was something to celebrate, not hide. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Victoria appeared in the doorway, and Alex felt the familiar warmth that had nothing to do with professional partnership and everything to do with the way she looked at his daughter and her own with genuine affection and respect. "Sorry to interrupt. How's the book coming?" "We're almost done with the first draft," Emma said, looking up from her calculations. "Want to see the latest illustration?" Lily held up her drawing. A detailed cityscape where every building was integrated with elaborate gardens, and friendly dinosaurs of various species tended to different aspects of the urban ecosystem. It was still recognizably her work, full of color and life, and optimistic impossibility. But the technical precision showed Emma's influence. "It's beautiful," Victoria said, and Alex heard the note of wonder that always crept into her voice when she encountered the girls' combined creativity. "The level of detail is incredible." "That's Emma's influence," Lily said generously. "She taught me how to make things look real, even when they're imaginary." "And Lily taught me that real doesn't have to mean boring," Emma replied. "Sometimes the most real things are the ones that make you feel something." Alex caught Victoria's eye and saw his own amazement reflected there. How had these two girls, so different in age and temperament, found their way to this profound understanding of each other's strengths? "Actually," Victoria said, "I came to ask if you'd both like to join us for the announcement this afternoon. It seems appropriate that you should be there." "What announcement?" Lily asked. Alex grinned. "The company is expanding the family integration program to all 57 offices nationwide. And they're creating a foundation to help other companies implement similar programs." "Really?" Emma's eyes lit up. "That means thousands more families will have what we have." "Tens of thousands, eventually." Lily set down her crayon and looked between Alex and Victoria with the seriousness she reserved for truly important moments. "Does this mean we did something good?" "You did something extraordinary," Victoria said, sitting down at the table with them. "Both of you. Your friendship showed us that the best solutions come from the most unexpected places." "Like flower dinosaurs?" "Exactly like flower dinosaurs." The afternoon announcement took place in the main lobby, transformed for the occasion with comfortable seating areas and displays showing the program's expansion across the company's national footprint. Employees from every department had gathered, many with their children, creating the kind of scene that would have been unthinkable when Alex first brought Lily to work in desperation. Margaret Ellis stood at the podium, but the real center of attention was the display behind her. A timeline showing the program's growth from a single office experiment to a national model, illustrated with photos from participating offices and testimonials from employees whose lives had been changed by the simple recognition that work and family didn't have to be opposing forces. "When we first implemented the SALF, Work-Life Integration Initiative," Margaret Ellis began, "we expected to see improvements in retention and productivity. What we didn't expect was how fundamentally it would change our culture, our creativity, and our understanding of what makes a workplace truly successful." Alex found himself thinking about that first day, when Victoria had threatened his job for bringing Lily to the office. How terrified he'd been. How certain that he was about to lose everything. How impossible it would have seemed that 18 months later, he'd be standing in front of the entire company as the architect of a program that was being studied and replicated across industries. "The foundation we're announcing today," Margaret Ellis continued, "will provide consulting services, implementation guides, and financial support to help companies of all sizes create family-friendly workplaces. Because what we've learned here shouldn't be limited to our walls." Lily raised her hand from the front row where she sat between Alex and Victoria. Margaret Ellis paused, smiling. "Yes, Lily? Will you tell other companies about the flower dinosaur theory?" A ripple of laughter moved through the audience, but Margaret Ellis answered with perfect seriousness. "Absolutely. In fact, I think the flower dinosaur theory should be the Foundation's first official principle." "What's the flower dinosaur theory?" someone called out. Lily stood up, completely comfortable addressing the crowd of adults. Sometimes things that seem scary or different just need something beautiful added to help people see them in a new way. Like how dinosaurs seem scary until you give them flowers, or how bringing kids to work seems unprofessional until you realize kids make everything more honest and creative. And more fun, Emma added, standing beside her friend. My mom used to work all the time and never smiled much. Now, she laughs every day because she learned that work doesn't have to be separate from the things that make you happy. Victoria reached over and squeezed Emma's hand, her eyes bright with tears she didn't try to hide. The foundation will officially launch next month, Margaret Ellis announced. Our first partnership is with the National Association of Single Parents, providing resources and advocacy for family-friendly workplace policies. Our second partnership is with the International Association of Elementary Schools, developing curricula that teach children about different types of work and family structures. After the formal announcement ended, the lobby filled with conversation and celebration. Alex found himself surrounded by colleagues he'd worked with for years, many of them sharing stories he'd never heard before. The accommodations they'd hidden, the choices they'd made in silence, the relief they felt at finally being able to bring their whole selves to work. Alex? A voice said behind him. He turned to find Janet Morrison from the accounting department. Her 8-year-old son clutched her hand. Hi, Janet. Hi, Tyler. I wanted to thank you, Janet said, her voice thick with emotion. Tyler has autism, and before the program changes, I spent every day terrified that someone would complain about me, leaving early for his therapy appointments, or working from home when he had meltdowns at school. Yesterday, he came to the office for the first time, and 3 different people complimented his dinosaur backpack and asked him about his favorite species. Tyler, who rarely made eye contact with strangers, looked up at Alex with a shy smile. I like Ankylosaurus because they had armor, but they were herbivores, so they were protected but peaceful. That's an excellent choice, Alex said seriously. Do you know what Lily would say about an Ankylosaurus? Tyler shook his head. She'd say they'd probably have the most beautiful flower gardens because they were gentle enough to tend them carefully, but strong enough to protect them from anything that might hurt. Tyler's smile widened. I'd like to see those gardens. Maybe Lily could draw one for you sometime. Really? She'd do that? Tyler. Lily appeared beside them as if summoned. Did someone say something about Ankylosaurus gardens? Because I've been thinking about those for weeks. As Lily and Tyler launched into an animated discussion about armored herbivores and their hypothetical horticultural practices, Alex felt Victoria's hand touch his arm. Walk with me? She said quietly. They made their way to the elevator and up to the executive floor, finally ending up in Victoria's office as the late afternoon sun painted everything golden. I have something for you, Victoria said, moving to her desk and retrieving a small wrapped package. It's not my birthday. It's better than a birthday. Open it. Alex unwrapped the package carefully, revealing a small, framed photograph. Lily and Emma, at their conference table in his office, bent over their book project, surrounded by papers and crayons, and the intense focus of collaboration. But it wasn't the girls that made him catch his breath. It was what hung on the wall behind them. Every single drawing Lily had ever made for Victoria was there, carefully framed and arranged in a gallery that transformed the space from a corporate office into something warm and personal and entirely unique. The flower dinosaurs, the friendship certificates, the architectural sketches with botanical additions, all of it preserved and displayed like the treasures they were. Victoria, he began, but found he had no words. Look at the inscription. Alex turned the frame over. In Victoria's precise handwriting, to Alex, who taught me that the most important business decisions are usually the most human ones. Thank you for showing me what it looks like to put love first. V. He looked up to find Victoria watching him with an expression he'd never seen before, vulnerable, hopeful, and entirely unguarded. Victoria, before you say anything, she interrupted gently. I need you to know that this isn't about gratitude or professional obligation or any of the complicated dynamics that could make this weird. Then what is it about? It's about the fact that somewhere between flower dinosaurs and conference room homework sessions, I fell in love with your wisdom and your kindness, and the way you see possibilities where other people see problems. She paused, taking a breath. And it's about the way Emma lights up when she talks about your family game nights, and the way Lily asks me about my day like my answer actually matters to her. Alex set the photograph down carefully and moved closer to where Victoria stood by the window. It's also about the way you look at me, she continued. Like you see who I'm trying to become, not just who I used to be. Victoria, he said softly, what exactly are you asking me? I'm asking if you think there might be room in your life, in your and Lily's life, for me and Emma. Not as colleagues or co-parents or any other arrangement we could rationalize. As family. The word hung in the air between them, enormous and fragile and full of possibility. Alex thought about Emma teaching Lily about mathematical patterns in nature, about Victoria learning to laugh at her daughter's jokes, about the way the four of them had somehow become something greater than the sum of their parts. He thought about Lily's friendship certificate theory, that kindness was what mattered most when people were different from each other. He thought about how love sometimes arrived in the most unexpected packages, disguised as corporate policy changes and emergency childcare arrangements, and the radical act of bringing your whole self to work. Victoria, he said finally, there's always been room. The question is whether you're ready to move in. Her smile was radiant and uncertain, and entirely perfect. I think I've been moved in for months, she said. I just needed to be brave enough to admit it. Through the office window, they could see the city spreading out below them, full of other families and other possibilities, and other chances for love to bloom in unexpected places. 43 floors below, in the lobby that had become their informal family gathering space, Lily was showing Tyler how to draw Ankylosaurus flowers, while Emma calculated the structural engineering required for armored herbivore garden habitats. It was exactly the kind of scene that would have seemed impossible 2 years ago, when Alex stood at his cubicle window, feeling like the world was too small to contain all the love he had to give his daughter. Now, the world felt limitless. Now, it felt like home. And somewhere in the margin of her latest drawing, Lily was probably adding a small note in her careful block letters. Love grows best where there's room for everyone to be exactly who they are. Which was, Alex thought, as close to perfect truth as anyone could hope to find. If you enjoy this story, I want you to click the subscribe button for more stories like this. This will mean a lot for the channel. Thank you.